Have you ever wondered what really happens in that fragile liminal space, drifting between waking and the depths of your most silent, unburdened sleep? Not the endless chatter of your mind just before midnight, not the scattered memories of dreams that dissolve at dawn, but something deeper, richer, and vastly more silent. Tonight, you enter with me into a story that breathes in those unseen hours, a place where ancient secrets and modern curiosities converge, a narrative shaped by whispers older than any book you've read, and by questions you may never have asked aloud. Imagine, for a moment, that every night offers a chance for a secret door to appear, not always in the same place, not always in the same guise, but appearing quietly when you least expect it. It's not carved from wood or stone, but from something closer to the fabric of your own awareness, something felt rather than seen. This isn't the door into an ordinary dream or a fleeting vision. It's the entrance into a temple you visited before, but can't ever quite describe when the sun returns. People from every corner of history, kings and poets, monks and inventors, have spoken about clues to another realm of knowing, a wisdom that descends in silence, in darkness, and leaves them changed without being able to say how. Tonight, let's settle into that very mystery. You felt the invitation before, a gentle tug as you fade from consciousness, a shimmering sense of being guided elsewhere. Have you ever awakened for what felt like an ordinary night's rest, only to find that a problem had somehow resolved itself, or that you suddenly knew exactly what needed to happen next? There's no explanation, no step-by-step process to find in a self-help manual, just a sense that understanding has quietly bloomed inside you, like dawn sneaking through the curtains. That feeling is both familiar and strange, a blend of trust in something deep in yourself and confusion about its origins. What if that mysterious wisdom, that unbidden certainty, was not random? What if there truly was a hidden chamber that opened only when you surrendered fully to rest, an inner sanctuary, neither part of waking thought nor ordinary dream, but set apart, waiting for you beyond familiar borders? The idea seems to unfurl from both myth and science, echoing through tales of great thinkers and ordinary wanderers alike. There are stories of artists who ceased their desperate searching, let sleep overtake them, and woke up with inspiration streaming through their fingers as if from nowhere. There are stories of travelers who followed only a gentle nudge on a path concealed in mist, later realizing their choices had been guided from beyond the limits of logic. Within this story, you are both the listener and the silent visitor, guided through dim corridors lined with golden light. There, the air is thick with distance, and the sense of something waiting for you is irresistible. Questions that lingered unspoken throughout your day seem to wait for you there, transformed from the tangled to the clear. Have you felt, even for a moment, as if some problems are not meant to be solved by struggle or calculation, but by surrendering to a silence that gives more than it takes? Where does this hush come from, and why does it seem to know us better than we know ourselves? Tonight, I ask you to listen wholeheartedly, not simply as someone seeking answers, but as a traveler ready to immerse in the quiet adventure of not knowing. This is not a bedtime story that will lull you with fantasy, but an invitation into a kind of truth that reveals itself only when you are relaxed enough, open enough to receive it. You are not a passive observer here. You are the one the temple has been waiting for, the one to whom the lamps of intuition will flicker and glow. If you ever felt curious about the invisible layers of wisdom behind your daily thoughts, or sense that your mind is capable of drawing from a source far vaster than memory or reason, let this story cradle you tonight. We will travel together through a narrative woven from legend, history, and that sparkling edge of mystery which, just at this hour, is closer than your own breath. Stay with me until the end, because in this journey, even as sleep approaches, there is a treasure meant only for those who complete the passage. The glow of discovery awaits not in explanations, but in the gentle certainty you will carry with you when you finally awaken. Elling the thread of your experience as you cross the threshold of the temple, something curious occurs. The air swells with a warmth that you didn't expect. A hint of fragrant myrrh, soft carpets beneath your feet. You sense, without words, that every surface here holds memories, layered like dust on a forgotten altar. An old man, robed in silvery blue, appears at the edge of your vision. His eyes glint with the mischief of one who's seen mysteries unfold and remain unsolved. He gestures, and you find yourself moving beside him, each step lighter than the last, until your feet scarcely brush the floor. The temple chamber spiral beneath a domed ceiling etched with constellations. Here, the old man quietly lays out curious objects, each resting on velvet. A bronze astrolabe, a feather that pulses with glimmer, an aged parchment scrawled in a language you don't speak. Every piece belongs to a traveler who once came seeking, he murmurs. But what they carry away was always less tangible and infinitely more valuable. You feel the truth in his words, a kind of gravity that draws you nearer. Yet, when you attempt to grasp the items, your hand meets only their shimmering outline. They resist possession, offering presence instead of ownership. As you wander deeper, the corridors narrow into an alcove bathed in gold. A woman waits here, her hair flowing in copper waves, humming an old melody. She peers at you, curious yet gentle. You're here to receive, aren't you? Not to learn in the usual sense, but to remember something you cannot name. Her voice ebbs and flows like the tide, and as she speaks, images flicker through your mind. Faces you've never seen, yet feel achingly familiar. Stories sculpted by time, by repetition, by yearning. For a fleeting moment, you are standing by a roaring hearth in a stone cottage, and then among pillars in Athens, sunlight scattering on the marble. There's no chronology, only the sensation of having lived many times before. These visions leave a strange aftertaste. The certainty of knowing, the impossibility of recounting. Now, as the narrative deepens, you notice a shelf lined with artifacts that shimmer between their shapes. Sometimes a compass, sometimes a locket, sometimes a key. Each tells its own silent fable. The old man explains that these objects belong to the realm of intuition, unclaimed until recognized. Unlike answers, he says, intuitions do not demand proof. They ask for your quietest trust. In that instant, the room fills with a faint sound of laughter and sorrow intertwined, revealing that intuition is as much born of joy as it is of longing. Here lies an odd comfort. Recognition that what you sense, though unproven, bears the signature of a greater intelligence, a wisdom that does not require applause. Further along, the woman leads you to a shallow pool. Its surface reflects not your face, but a cascade of possible outcomes, a branching tree of choices you have yet to make. She invites you to dip your hand. The water ripples, and with it, an insight sparks. Your life, far from a single straight path, is instead a fractal of overlapping possibilities, each alive with its own promise. You realize that what you call knowing is often just the courage to step onto a new branch, trusting that if you slip, the tree will catch you. The notion tastes both liberating and daunting. What possibilities might reveal themselves tonight if you let old certainties slip away? In a hushed moment, the woman asks gently, how often do you ignore the whisper that carries no evidence, but tugs at your gut? Her question lingers, hanging in the incense-heavy air, stirring something deep inside you. It's an invitation to consider how many times, wrapped in routine, you've brushed off those faint nudges as mere fancy. Yet, in this golden alcove, doubt dissolves. The temple seems to breathe in your hesitation and breathe out reassurance, as if to say, this is the birthplace of trust. A bell tolls softly from some impossible distance, and the old man, joined now by silent-robed figures, beckons you onward. Their faces blur and shift, never quite settling into one form, reminding you that here, certainty is always just out of reach. Yet the sense of connection, the web-like shimmer between you and them, grows stronger. You've been offered not a map, but a lamp to carry forward, its light golden and unwavering. As you step through an archway of onyx and firelight, the air changes once more. There's a rush of cool wind scented with citrus and cedar. Just ahead, another chamber beckons with the promise of new riddles and gentle awakenings, the story of intuition unfolding, petal by silent petal, within the hallowed halls of your own sleeping mind. A hush fell as you stepped into a round chamber, and your senses sharpened, catching a subtle vibration humming through the floor. The temperature had shifted. Pale blue light filtered through alabaster screens, painting furtive patterns along the curve of the wall. Suspended in the center of this room, almost defying logic, hung a lattice of crystal spheres. They shimmered with internal storms, brief flashes of violet or emerald, so quick you might have doubted their existence. It was here that you met the storykeeper. He appeared youthful and aged all at once, with laughter lines fanning from eyes that flickered like candle flames. Without preamble, he greeted you, not by your given name, but by a string of titles, each oddly personal, each echoing a silent aspiration or regret you guarded close. Welcome, quiet seeker, mender of doubts, weaver of possibilities, he intoned, voice lilting with mirth and melancholy. The way he regarded you made it clear that, in this place, your doubts and ambitions alike were not only seen, but honored. His presence suggested a new perspective on the slippery nature of insight. Sometimes a wisdom that dawns within the deepest silence also understands the shadow it illuminates. He gestured toward the crystal lattice overhead. Each sphere is a story, silent to the ear, but roaring to those ready to listen, he explained. Not all wisdom arrives shrouded in mystery. Sometimes it declares itself through others, through a friend's sudden concern, a lover's hushed confession, or even the unexpected gestures of strangers. Intrigued, you dare to touch one of the spheres. A current tingled across your fingers, drawing you into the memory that it held. You glimpse an unfamiliar scene, a village at dusk, where an elderly woman tended a circle of flickering lanterns. She spoke to unseen figures gathered at the periphery, her words a gentle balm for worries carried on the wind. Each lantern's glow seemed to pulse in rhythm with her voice. Children who had quarreled during the day found themselves compelled to forgive by morning, and old neighbors who bore quiet grudges for years were moved to laughter simply by her presence. It dawned on you that true intuition sometimes emerges not as a personal revelation, but as a subtle influence. One person quietly adjusting the mood, guiding the collective spirit toward peace, without anyone quite knowing how it happened. Drawing back, the storykeeper watched you, his eyes full of compassion. Now reflect. How often do you recognize your own ability to nudge the world? Many cherish the notion of solitary epiphanies, but what are those instincts that ripple outward, shifting relationships, perceptions, even possibilities for an entire community? His words invited you further, prompting you to ponder moments when you'd acted on a hunch, not merely for your own sake, but to shift something larger, perhaps with effects you never fully realized. Not content with a single example, he beckoned you to another sphere. This time, a bustling city square appeared noisy and alive. Amid the crowd, a young artist paused, brushed halfway to canvas. She hesitated, torn between replicating what she saw and capturing what she sensed. That intuition, a raw emotion in her chest, seemed unreasonable until she flung color in bold, wild arcs out of nowhere. Her listeners gasped in awe as something new, unplanned, and deeply resonant emerged. Passers-by who initially dismissed her work were drawn closer, many later admitting the painting awakened memories or emotions they'd long avoided. Through her leap of faith, the artist's inner certainty became a shared experience. Her private understanding expanded into something greater than herself. Here was evidence that trusting one's subtle insights could give birth not simply to knowledge, but to transformation for others. Contemplating these fresh stories, you couldn't help but wonder, how many times have you discounted a gentle urge to reach out, offer kindness, or suggest a new path, simply because you lack certainty? What might have changed within yourself and those nearby had you followed that golden thread, even once? In this chamber, the question pulsed. Could your quietest, most fleeting convictions become lanterns not just for you, but for everyone they silently touch? As the storykeeper slipped beyond a mosaic archway, you found yourself alone amid the gleaming spheres. A final thought lingered. It is not just the insights descending in solitude, but those you bring back, share, and let ripple through the world that fuel the unseen currents shaping lives. The born wisdom hidden here did not demand explanation. It awaited your willingness to carry it outward. Let it shimmer in unexpected moments, and plant its seeds in places both familiar and new. Beyond the crystal-filled chamber, the corridor turned abruptly, dipping into unexpected shadow. Here, the walls felt alive, breathing faint echoes of footsteps that seemed not entirely your own. Flickers of opalescent color darted along the stones, occasionally forming silhouettes that danced before melting into the gloom. In this passage, you sense the boundaries of ordinary perception soften, a place where uninvited insights didn't so much announce themselves as slip through unnoticed apertures of your awareness. like a cool draft under a locked door. The further you walked, the stronger the sense became, awakening a kind of double vision. On one layer, the quiet confidence of your own intentions. On another, scattered clues that belong to a consciousness larger than personal ambition. As you turned the final corner, you nearly walked into a figure clothed in shadow and faint, glimmering sparks. She watched you with eyes that sparkled like black diamonds, alert, searching, undeniably present. Without words, she extended a slender hand, leading you softly to the side alcove, where rough-hewn benches encircled a moonlit well. You sat, aware of the ritual intimacy in her actions, as if both of you were participants in an old, forgotten rite. This guide, more enigmatic than any before, finally spoke in a voice so gentle you strained to catch its contours. "Have you ever considered," she mused, "how the sixth sense can operate not in silence, but in dialogue? That the portal to deeper insight glimmers brightest when brushed by another's perspective, provoking your thoughts to shimmer and refract in wholly unfamiliar patterns." Her question lingered between you, the air now tinged with something like anticipation. She nodded toward the well's surface, glistening black and utterly still. With her fingertip, she traced delicate circles atop the water. Immediately, images sprang to life within the shallow depths. You saw two scholars deep in debate, voices overlapping yet never hostile. Neither claimed absolute knowledge. Instead, each question drew forth a new possibility, each pause inviting a moment of revelation. Their ideas did not collide, but coalesced, rivaling rivers merging into a single wild current. This was a lesson in the generative energy found where minds meet, where intuition kindles not in solitary silence, but through the warmth of genuine connection. Following this, the guide shifted her approach, removing a small, intricate puzzle from her satchel, a lattice of gears and plates, tinier than your palm. She handed it to you with a wry smile. "Give it a try," she said simply. Your fingers explored the object, turning it this way and that, only to realize logic afforded no progress. The key was to hold it loosely, letting instinctive impulses take over. Without quite understanding how, you slid a hidden piece aside and the puzzle unfolded, revealing a sliver of luminous stone nested inside. The guide's gaze softened with approval. Sometimes, true knowing arises precisely when you let go of strategy and let subtle, wordless suggestions lead the way. Intuition is not passive. It invites you to act, but not to dictate. Now, imagine what this means for those moments in daily life when purely rational analysis falls short and the answer feels just out of grasp. Perhaps you have struggled with dilemma, a decision at work, the atmosphere in a relationship suddenly changing, the distinct sense that you're missing something beneath all the facts. If, in such moments, you pause to invite and honor another perspective, even one fundamentally at odds with your own, what patterns might begin to emerge? Might the simple act of trusting the tension, sitting with the discomfort, open you to insights you'd otherwise shut out? The guide's features softened further as she leaned in, voice settling into a hush. Intuition, at its deepest, is not a secret to be hoarded. It thrives in the company of difference, drawing clarity as a pond draws from rainfall. What happens when you allow another's questions to trouble the still waters of your mind? Without knowing the rules of the outcome, are you able to lean closer, to listen for what only appears when two imaginations intertwine? You considered this, tracing your own reflection in the well, realizing that sometimes clarity is not a solitary lamp but a constellation, each light rendered brighter by those shining near it. Leaving the alcove, you felt changed. The corridors ahead waited, the stones whispering of new voices and connections. The sixth sense, you understood now, was not a fixed quality within you, but a living, evolving force lit by both your private silence and your willingness to receive the unimagined gifts of others. As you advance deeper into the temple, the temperature cools, and a subtle scent of cypress weaves through the air, an emblem of passage, change, and silent anticipation. In the half-light, you notice a soft, rhythmic sound, akin to slow closing and opening of enormous wings somewhere in the dark overhead. Here, the architecture transforms. Pillars are replaced by smooth, sinewy arcs resembling tree branches growing from the foundations themselves, their extremities meeting high above like fingertips in blessing. At the center of this new chamber sits a solitary figure, A young woman wrapped in a robe of indigo cloth, gazing intently into a curved obsidian mirror. Around her, scattered notes and torn fabric scraps whisper of long study and half-remembered revelations. You are drawn closer not by invitation, but by the magnetic charge of curiosity that tingles across your skin. The woman senses your approach, yet her attention remains fixed. Every so often, she hums a low, drawn-out tone, and the mirror responds with an iridescent shimmer that dances along its cracked surface, a living interplay between her intent and the glass's latent possibilities. Rather than speaking, she gestures for you to sit across from her, laying an unadorned stone between you. She finally breaks her silence, her voice quiet but unwavering. There are moments when insight arrives not as words or images, but as sensation, a pulse, a pressure in the air, or the unmistakable slowing of time. She slides a stone toward you, her eyes meeting yours with searching intensity. Now, picture yourself in this chamber when a surge of intuition, visceral and ineffable, overtakes you. Perhaps it's the racing of your heart before an unforeseen event, or a tingling in your palms when someone you trust is near. These biological signatures, though often dismissed, can and do forewarn of subtle energies and shifts invisible to the senses. The woman whispers, the body does not lie, even when the mind makes excuses. She demonstrates by tracing her fingers along the mirror, describing how before each minor calamity or stroke of luck in her life, her body would send signals, tightness at her temples or a sudden goosebump rush. Each time, the wisdom surfaced without logic, and only afterward did sense or meaning attempt to catch up. Further into your exchange, she raises a question that hums in the sacred space between you. In your own life, when have you felt an instinctive push or halt, a shiver with no obvious cause, a deep breath that pulled you upright at the perfect moment? She smiles slyly, as if knowing the answer before you can speak. What if, she prompts gently, the body is less a vessel for the mind and more a tuning fork for mystery? The suggestion lands with the weight of truth. Suddenly, the noises from overhead grow louder, merging into a thrumming sound, life's pulse mirrored within your chest. Seizing the momentum, the woman invites you to experiment. Stand, she encourages. As you rise, she asks you to close your eyes and move in a direction that feels warmest, lightest, most open, trusting your skin's subtle cues. At first, your steps seem random, but quickly, you realize your body veers toward a narrow breach in the roots, a hidden doorway made clear not by sight, but by the cascade of tiny revelations racing up and down your spine. You realize in that moment, the body's wisdom can lead you toward veiled opportunities or steer you from invisible hazards long before conscious awareness arranges the facts. Now, consider how this phenomenon might play out beyond these sacred walls. In the daily labyrinth of workspaces, friendships, and public encounters. Frequently, a decision made with no outward justification, yet accompanied by a deep sense of physical certainty, proves correct in hindsight. The woman's presence remains as you move through this thought. To ignore these silent messengers, she cautions, is to walk blindfold among treasures and traps alike. Her words linger as you pass through the door you found by sensation alone, leaving with renewed appreciation for your own body. Not just a companion, but as ancient oracle awakened every night within the temple of deep sleep. As you step from the realm of sensation into the next mysterious expanse of the temple, there's an unmistakable transformation, a subtle orchestration of light and sound weaving around you, drawing you inward. This new environment evokes the ambience of an ancient library, but instead of neatly stacked books, the walls are alive with shifting iridescent sigils. These patterns flicker and dance, emitting tones that seem to vibrate within your very bones. Here, the air shivers with possibility, and you sense the presence of another guide, one who seems more shadow than substance, gliding along the corridors with a robe that trails indistinct memories in its wake. Without uttering a word, this enigmatic figure motions for you to follow and leads you toward a series of alcoves filled not with treasures, but with echoes, fragments of conversations, murmured secrets, and silent promises suspended in amber light. You soon realize that what fills this chamber isn't knowledge in traditional sense, but something wilder and more elusive, the spark of creative intuition, that instantaneous leap connecting disparate ideas into something entirely novel. The guide raises her hand, and in response, The sigils rearrange into a spiral, humming with energy. "Watch closely," she whispers. "For here, meaning is born not from logic, but from daring association." Suddenly, you witness a cascade of vignettes unfolding along the walls. Each scene depicts moments of audacious invention. A shipwright sketching blueprints by combining the soaring wings of seabirds with the fluid lines of ocean waves, or a composer pausing mid-note and letting the rhythm of distant thunder weave itself into an unfinished melody. These creators, shown suspended in their acts of inspired fusion, trust the immediate spark that leaps between ideas rather than a well-worn path. Through their example, you glimpse how the mind's hidden corridors can be illuminated not just by careful analysis, but by allowing connections to surface through wandering attention, daydreams, or the murmur of an inner voice that resists definition. Greater complexity arises as the guide leads you deeper, where alcoves pulse with differently colored glows, each hue suggesting a soil where new ideas might take root. In a nook lit with a coppery sheen, a mural shifts and opens onto another world. Two rival scholars in the golden twilight of Forgotten City, each fiercely devoted to opposing theories. Instead of tearing each other down, they gather every evening with sketch pads and stones, not to prove a point, but to blend their incompatible visions into grand mosaics stretching for miles across the city's open plazas. Their legacy, the guide reminds you, is not simply the art they left behind, but the practice of thriving amidst contradiction, of letting paradox spark a richer creation than unilateral certainty ever could. All the while, the signature whisper of the temple echoes within your chest. There's genius to be found in those spontaneous moments when intuition dares you to look past the obvious. Consider what might awaken in your own experience if, for a moment, you allow confusion or contradiction coexist instead of rushing to closure. Suppose that moment at work when a solution evaded you until, in a daydream, two unrelated memories collided and produced a missing insight. Or recollect the evening you sat with an unsolvable question and let your thoughts slip toward play, finding, as if by magic, a new direction entirely. The guide now pauses before a final alcove shimmering with violet light. You are invited to step closer and touch one sigil, feeling an electric warmth surge along your fingertips. In that instant, a vision floods your mind, a future version of yourself, smiling as you explain a breakthrough to a friend, describing how it came not from stubborn pursuit, but from letting leisure and curiosity intermingle. You're left with a question that hangs like a lantern in the dream-lit air. How much more might you discover if you permitted playfulness and ambiguity their rightful place alongside diligence and precision? Without waiting for an answer, you sense the current of creativity alive within you, eager for the next leap, if only you give it space to unfold. A faint current of anticipation stirs as you pass from the violet-lit alcove, the atmosphere subtly shifting toward a more primal intensity. The walls, once alive with symbols, now exude the faint scent of rain on sun-warmed earth, raw, rich, subtly electrifying. Here, the path underfoot feels less constructed and more discovered, a subtle slope leading downwards into the temple's innermost sanctum. The air is different, almost denser, carried with the low thrum of ancient energies. Footsteps echo behind you, and you sense you're no longer moving alone. A soft, steady presence emerges. The huntress. She is unlike any guide you've encountered, a figure wrapped in deep green, her movements as quiet as breath parting tall grass at dusk. She meets your gaze with a wry smile, hefting a staff crafted of twisted ash, her stance balanced between repose and readiness. Rather than instructing, she observes you keenly, letting the heaviness of her silence speak before words catch up. Sometimes intuition is feral, she finally says, voice steady as a drumbeat, not tamed by habit or comfort, but honed by the need to sense what lurks beyond the firelight. Without warning, you find yourself trailing her into a darkened copse. Strange. Consider you are deep within a stone temple, and yet the moss underfoot, the sound of trickling water, and the hush of unseen creatures feel real. The huntress slows her pace, every sense alert. She indicates a narrow game path, nearly invisible. Some truths are shy, she murmurs, revealing themselves only when you attune to the hush between each heartbeat. Instinctively, you slow too, focusing on the synesthetic play of shadow and sound, letting your body adjust. It's as if every subtle shift An upturned leaf, the hush of feathers, the knotted roots has become a silent herald, a wayfinding marker no map ever charts. Now, picture the rising tension, a sudden rustle. The huntress signals to you to freeze. Your muscles coil, breath hitching as you sense something moving just out of sight. For a moment, uncertainty claws at your composure. Yet, pushed by her calm, you yield to your own sensing, hearing the subtle whisper of movement, smelling the mossy tang of earth disturbed, spotting a barely there gleam in the distance. Instead of calculating, you react. A step to the left, a duck of your head, and danger bypasses you, unseen but real. The huntress's approving nod imparts a lesson. Sometimes, the world's wildness can only be navigated by an unspoken agreement between your ancient animal sense and the uncertainty all around. Shifting from the shadowy woods back to the quiet of the temple, the huntress stops, her demeanor softer. Modern life teaches you to mute these instincts, she reflects, to rely on bright screens and tidy explanations instead of the subtler warnings braided into your nerves. She kneels at a shallow stream cutting the floor's edge, tracing circles on the water's reflective surface. The ripples distort your reflection, reminding you of all the times you felt those faint urges, a pulse of alertness before a difficult conversation, a prickling of your neck when a situation demanded withdrawal, the unexplainable certainty trust or avoid a person you barely know. Leaning in, she confides, urban jungles are no less dangerous than ancient forests. The threats and opportunities hide under different shapes, but this wild knowing remains. If you dare to honor it, the way she looks at you suggests a challenge. Can you, in the calm moments of your evening, recall when these survival instincts have saved you, or at least nudged your attention before facts caught up? Does some part of you long to navigate the subtle perils of your day with the same grace and readiness you discovered here, in the huntress's living lesson? As the final droplets glide off her staff and the last echoes of the woodland retreat, she leaves you with a whisper. You are not only a thinker, but a creature gifted with senses tuned by 1,000 generations. Let them guide you when the path fades. The mythology of the huntress lingers in the air, a memory of intuition, wild and wise, pulsing beneath your skin, ready to flare when logic falters and only primal knowing endures. Emerging from the wild hush left by the huntress, you send a subtler, more paradoxical current guiding your steps, a quiet pulse tugging your awareness not outward to threats or opportunities, but inward to a realm that is neither strictly personal nor entirely impersonal. The temple corridor now curves languidly, cloaked in a twilight that flickers between opacity and lucidity, as if awaiting a delicate negotiation. It is here that you cross paths with a new figure, the cartographer of dreams, a person draped in dust blue layers and smelling faintly of ink and midnight rain. Unlike the huntress, their movements carry no urgency. Their gaze is measured and contemplative, hands perpetually tracing invisible lines in the air. Without formal greeting, the cartographer gestures to a table littered with half-unfurled diagrams, maps that pulse and warp, boundaries dissolving and reforming like living memories. What distinguishes these maps is neither precision of their outlines nor the logic of their structure, but the fact that each one contains impossible routes. Footpaths that begin in laughter and lead into silence, alleys marked with symbols of intuition instead of addresses, entire districts named for long-forgotten feelings. Here is where the invisible influences of others intersect with your internal landscape. They offer voice low and calm. In dreams, you tread roads built not only from your own experience, but from the echoing intentions, desires, and fears of those around you. Pausing at one shifting map, you watch as it transforms, your own lifeline suddenly entwined with strands bearing unfamiliar colors and textures. These represent the often overlooked impact of social intuition, how your mind, even when asleep, navigates invisible contracts forged in relationships, alliances, and silent rivalries. Consider those nights you woke inexplicably uneasy, haunted by the thought or sorrow of someone else far away, the cartographer intones, or the mornings when conversation that never happened still echoes through your body with the certainty of truth. Their words drift through you, stirring recollections of times when you absorbed the mood of a room or responded to the unvoiced needs of a loved one with a certainty that left logic behind. Furthermore, the The cartographer draws you to a particularly intricate section where the paths twist and coil, looping around a complex web of intersecting journeys. Here, the scenery becomes richer. Taverns where unknown companions gather, plazas filled with the laughter or unease of strangers' dreams. Now, the air quivers with peculiar tension. Every night, your guide explains, your mind weaves a fabric not just from private memory, but from the residue of every encounter, every glance, even fleeting connections forgotten by daylight. We are all, in some measure, dream cartographers mapping lands partly constructed by each other. Now, imagine for a moment, when you next drift into sleep, what path might materialize if you entered carrying not only your own questions, but the unsolved riddles, aspirations, and silent longings of those closest to you? In this moment, one lantern outshines the rest, a tiny globe vibrating with an orange glow. Inside, you glimpse a scene, a friend struggling with decision unknown to you in waking life. Yet here, within dream, their hesitance is as visible as mist above water. As you watch, you feel compelled to offer words you've never spoken, guiding them through an obstacle you cannot name. On waking, something in your heart aches for answers. A phone call later reveals a friend's struggle, and you realize you carried a map drawn not in ink, but in affinity. Building on this, the cartographer's eyes glint with mischief. So many treat dreams as solitary theaters, they remark. Yet, could it be that every night we stand at intersections, brushing against the unspoken quests and fears of many? Their question lingers, inviting you to reflect. With whom have your stories quietly entangled beneath the silent stars? Who has shaped your inner terrain when sleep dissolves all boundaries, making the secret fears and hidden hopes of others as real for a time as your own? Finally, the cartographer hands you a freshly drawn map, blank except for a single winding road that disappears into a field of luminous question marks. Their voice gains an unexpected gentleness. Every journey here, no matter how solitary it feels, is always shared. The next time your intuition nudges you toward compassion without apparent cause, or whispers a warning echoing among the unfamiliar, ask yourself, whose path has crossed yours while you wander deep in that golden-lit temple, and what maps remain to be drawn together? Reflecting on this journey so far, it is as though you have walked not just through a corridor of fading memories, but through the weaving threads of a tapestry that both conceals and reveals its pattern the further you trace its silken edges. Imagine the sensation of standing before a pond at twilight, a surface at once serene and alive with ripples, each one cast by something unseen beyond the immediate line of sight. It's this sense of layered resonance that now fills the hush in the temple, where the boundaries between what you know, what you sense, and what you imagine are blurred into a gentle symphony far richer than the sum of its notes. As you find yourself drifting farther from the familiar, the temple begins to feel less like a structure built of stone or intention, and more like a living memory slowly unfurling itself around you. Each step echoes with questions that aren't quite yours. Every breath carries a fragrance of insights that seem to hover on the threshold of recall. The air thickens, not in the suffocating way of secrets withheld, but with a sweet density that hints at something fermenting and transforming in the dark. The senses sharpen and soften all at once, like the shifting light beneath a stormy sky, inviting you to lean into subtleties that might otherwise go unheeded. In the flicker of this in-between, you may notice an unfamiliar confidence growing within, a willingness to sit with uncertainty, to let intuition ripple across your waking consciousness, much like the wind stirs the tall grass at the garden's edge. It feels as if the temple itself encourages not resolution, but exploration, a reminder that sometimes the most vital discoveries are found not at the terminus, but in the hesitation before choosing which path to follow. The presence of the guardians and guides who have quietly ushered you deeper, some reflectively silent, some vibrant with laughter or curiosity, lingers like the residue of a dream you haven't quite finished dreaming. They do not offer answers tied like neat packages, but instead grant you permission to wander, to let doubt and confidence sit side by side, perhaps as old friends do when words are unnecessary and the mere act of company is enough. It is in this receptive stillness that you sense the emerging undercurrent of wonder, not the naive wonder that asks for spectacle, but the mature, weathered wonder that quietly reshapes the very foundations of thought. The melodies of earlier episodes, at first discordant, now seem to spiral together, There are themes converging at a depth you could not have anticipated while standing at the threshold. The effect is subtle, a shifting in how you listen to your own thoughts, a gentler pacing of self-inquiry, an emboldened trust in where not knowing might lead. You are not simply an observer within these walls now. You are, in some uncanny sense, both the architect and the wanderer, outlining with cautious hands what it means to intuit, to sense, and act even as the outcome remains hidden. The ambience itself begins to transform. Sound that once hinted at distance now carry the intimacy of a whispered secret. Light rains down in cascading fragments, not illuminating, but inviting a softer focus, as though the world of the temple is preparing you to glimpse something else, something trailing just behind the obvious. This anticipation is not frantic, but serene, an invitation to recognize how far you've come, and how much yet remains just waiting at the edge of sleep, or perhaps at the dawn of waking. All around you, the mood feels suspended, as if the temple holds its breath, watchful, expectant, attuned to that subtle frequency that signals not an ending but an arrival. The path ahead, though not yet visible, radiates with the certainty that your presence here. The questions you carry, the patience you have summoned, matters deeply. The closing steps are near, yet the story's most potent transformation lingers, curled like a secret in the warmth of the temple's golden heart. A hush had settled in the heart of the temple. It was not a quiet of emptiness. Rather, it was a luxurious, promise-filled pause that follows the final chord of a symphony, when every listener lingers in a tingling aftershock. You remain seated in this golden chamber, gazing at the soft interplay of light and shadow, as if they whispered secrets not born on sound, but release in feeling. The journey had lined your consciousness with new threads, subtle and glimmering. You discovered that each guide and chamber held not merely lessons, but doorways into facets of yourself, ancient and altogether fresh. A low voice, gentle yet unmistakable, drifted from the far side where golden dusk bathed the pillars. It was the old man again, his gaze now threaded with the serenity of someone who knows both the weight and levity of mysteries kept. There are those who live their lives hunting certainties, he said, pacing softly across the mosaic floor. But there are others, perhaps you, now, who learn to dance in the mist, trusting what the eye cannot see nor the ear quite catch. He stopped just before you, lending the room a rare clarity. We pass through cycles of seeking, logic's firm embrace, then the wildness of intuition, the ancient called instinct, the dream-laden roads where other souls mix with our own. All this flows beneath the surface, and every time you surrender, truly surrender, to the quiet, you become receptive to a wisdom unclaimed by waking thought. That is the gift of this place. The woman with copper hair joined him, her laughter chiming in the hush like soft rain against stone. She brushed her hand along your shoulder, a comfort as natural as breath, and said simply, "The knowing you carry home may never fit neatly into words, yet will alter how you move through daylight. There will be moments where the ordinary brightens at the edges, as if the world itself leans into whisper guidance. It is not about answers. It is about listening with every part of you, skin, heart, memory, and silence." There was warmth in her eyes, but something deeper too, the certainty that what you had gleaned here would continue its secret work long after you departed the temple's embrace. Outside, the first hints of morning trembled along the horizon, a tapestry of silver and pale gold. As you made your way back toward the threshold, the boundaries between temple and world began to dissolve. What once felt like a realm set apart now stretched in invisible threads to the fabric of waking life. Here, a child's trusting glance would someday echo the golden well's reflection. There, a choice made on a silent hunch would carry the shape of the huntress's path. Even mundane routines, stirring coffee, unlocking a bicycle, pausing in conversation, might sparkle with a memory of this night. The tranquil certainty that part of you will always find its way home to these illuminated halls. Just as the doors shimmered and faded behind you, leaving little more than the lingering warmth of possibility in your chest, you pause on the edge of sleep and waking. A question floated up, gentle, persistent, alive. What doors within you are waiting for that perfect hush, that single, subtle moment of yielding to open? Perhaps it will arrive tonight or in some later dusk, but now you know to welcome it. Not with analysis or expectation, but with the easy breath of one who trusts the quiet gold at the world's deepest heart. The temple's silence accompanied you as you settled into bed, a silent companion as rare and cherished as any story. And even as the veil of dreams began to draw close, you sensed that something had shifted. Not a knowledge wrested from reason, but new willingness to honor whatever light finds you in the dark. The journey had concluded, but the story, you realized, would continue, refracted with every choice, every mystery, every golden intuition, encouraged by this gentle, limitless night.